Good morning and welcome to All Souls, to our online worship. We're so grateful that you are here with us. And with us means with myself. I am Reverend Carolyn Paterno. I serve All Souls as one of our two ministers. And with me this morning is, of course, Reverend Caitlin O'Brien. And Jesse Edwards is working all of the tech as usual. We thank Tammy for the beautiful slides that you will experience, and Tanya for her gifts of music, as well as Bill Groth, who will share his piano music with us. We're so grateful, and we're grateful to have you here with us as ever. We begin by drawing close our energies, our minds, our hearts. And so I invite you to take a breath in together and settle in as we begin. Weeping may endure for the night, but joy comes in the morning. So says the psalm. In the sun-drenched morning, I wait for joy to come. What comes is a memory that beckons. I see a Sunday morning as All Souls gathers, not in Unity Hall, but in this new place, as impossibly spacious as a cathedral and as intimate as a simple chapel tucked away in the ornate architecture. I see faces of shining souls, of those who make their way to this chapel week by week, determined. Weeping may endure for the night, but in the morning, the congregation holds breath until this touchstone. Welcome to All Souls, where all souls are welcome, and joy comes barreling in. You are joyfully called to worship. Please join Tanya Lehman, our music director, in singing our opening hymn, Haishivenu. We will sing it in a round. Join your voice as you are able.
Hashivenu, Hashivenu, Adonai Aleha, Benashuva, Benashuva, Hadesh, Hadesh, Yamenu Keke, Dam, Hashivenu, Hashivenu, Adonai Eleha, Benashuvenu, Benashuvenu, Hadesh, Hadesh, Yamenu
Thank you, Tanya. As Reverend Carolyn lights our chalice, please speak with me the words by Sufi poet Rumi. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing. There is a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Amen.
We are going to light 2 candles this morning, one of gratitude and another for peace. This past week, the Unitarian Universalist Association of Congregations, our movement, suffered a great loss. Alondria Williams was the recent past moderator of the UUA. They were a lifelong Unitarian Universalist and a deep-hearted leader. Those of you who read the UU World or have attended General Assembly in the past 2 years will attest that Alondria gave their all through a very challenging time. May Alondria rest in power and in peace, and for their unique and righteous voice and service, we give thanks. And our candle of peace. Our entire country is, of course, in need of our prayers and lamentations and work for peace. But this morning, we hold in particular tenderness the family and community to which Breonna Taylor belonged. May the systems of justice be for one and all consistent and fair by the work of our own advocacy and that of justice-loving people everywhere. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Carolyn. Yom Kippur, said to be the holiest day of the Jewish year, begins at sundown today. It is a time for atonement, a time to consider things you maybe wish you had not done, and how to take responsibility for them. It can involve saying you're sorry to someone, but this sorry needs to be genuine. Have you ever noticed that there's lots of ways to say sorry without meaning it? Lots of ways to basically say sorry, not sorry. For example, there's geez, sorry. Or the popular, I'm sorry, but you did such and such. Or there's a particularly slippery one, I'm sorry if you feel that way. I'm guessing we've all been the giver of these kinds of apologies and the recipient of them as well. We can do better. Let's take some advice from a 12th century rabbi, Maimonides. He summarized the atonement process with 3 R's. It's always helpful for memory. You regret the wrongful behavior. You reject the wrong behavior. And you resolve to do better. He said this some 900 years ago, and it still rings true. The students at my children's elementary school were given a similar formula to learn about how to make a truly restorative apology. So you say, I'm sorry for, and then you fill in the blank. It was wrong because, and you fill in the blank. And then you say, in the future, I will fill in the blank. It's pretty handy. If you really are sorry, you should be able to fill in those blanks, no problem. If you are struggling to fill in those blanks, you may not actually owe an apology, or you do and you need to look more closely at the harm done. In the reading that Reverend Carolyn is about to read, listen for the elements of this formula in the apology that emerges.
Thanks for those 3 R's, Caitlin. So good. Today's reading is from excerpts from articles from the Hartford Courant, NPR, and NBC.com. Some of you may remember this story. A Connecticut man convicted of a hate crime is now working to combat stereotypes about Islam. His story, which made headlines around the world, sprang out of his attack on a mosque in Meriden, Connecticut in 2015. Ted Hakey Jr., a former Marine, had just heard the news about the 2015 terrorist attacks claimed by the Islamic State that left 130 people in Paris dead. And after a night of drinking, Mr. Hakey fired several shots into the Ahmadiyya Baitulaman Mosque. No one was injured in the attack. Hakey went through an addiction recovery program and served 6 months in federal prison. Shortly following the shooting, Hakey requested an opportunity to visit the mosque and make amends. He apologized to members of the Meriden Muslim community. He arrived trembling and fighting back tears, and soon the mosque representatives and FBI agents alike were wiping their eyes as well. Mr. Hakey told NPR's Lucy Nonpathachel, "I knew that they were there to accept the apology, but I didn't think it was going to be sincere. And they knew I was there to apologize, but they didn't think that I was going to be sincere. I think it was the sincerity of everybody that was so emotional about the meeting." During his apology, Hakey said, "As a neighbor of the mosque, I did have fears, but fear is always when you don't know something. The unknown is what you are always afraid of. I wish I had come and knocked on your door, and if I spent 5 minutes with you, it would have made all the difference in the world. And I didn't do that. Going forward," he added, "I want to help you bridge that gap and help someone else not make the same mistake I did." Zahir Minan, the mosque's outreach director, he was the one embracing Hakey in this photo, says that Hakey has become like a brother to him in the time since the apology. He has taught Hakey about the tenets of Islam, and he visited Hakey every other week during his incarceration. Hakey said of these visits, "We talk about things I don't even discuss with some of my best friends." Since the completion of his sentence, Hakey has been working to educate people about the Muslim faith. He has drawn visitors to the mosques to promote better understanding. Of these outreach and education efforts, Hakey says, "I feel I owe them for the forgiveness I was given." So ends the reading.
We love when you play that piece, Bill. Thank you so much. Like you, like every human, I've been wronged. I've been let down. I've been unfairly judged. I've been physically injured by someone else's carelessness, and I've been hurt even more so by emotional carelessness. And I'm just going to say right out of the gate that I don't think I've ever been in full control of the process of forgiving those who've done these things to me. I don't think it's only a matter of willpower. I feel there's some mystery or grace to forgiveness and atonement. I feel that part of it is somehow out of our hands. And I wanted to run this idea by you. Now, let me say, I am pro-forgiveness. Not an act that makes harm okay, but an act that releases me from resentment. I believe what is said about the toxicity of non-forgiveness. The idea that it's holding on to anger and resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the person who harmed you to suffer for it. Neuroscientists are starting to be able to measure the benefit to our health that forgiveness can bring about. Forgiveness brings a sense of personal relief that can be detected on an MRI. As one thinker put it, cortisol is decreased and endorphins are increased, such that, quote, forgiveness is another method of attaining what is sometimes called the runner's high. Forgiveness is good for the forgiver. This data is great, and so is the inspiration of the reconciliation story from down the road in Meriden. Boy, do we need more of that in these times. We need nudges to do what we can to forgive. And I'm here suggesting that what we can consciously do may have its limits. Yes, depending on the harm done, we can consider what was going on for the harm doer, what their life is like, what influenced them. We can name our wish to forgive, even if only for our own sake. And we can lick our wounds, take care of ourselves in its wake. Beyond that, I am not aware of a forgiveness button that we can press to be done with it. Like so many things in life, there are steps that can be taken, and then there is a waiting of unknown duration. What I've noticed is that sometimes I realize that the heaviness of my anger and resentment towards someone has lifted. And in that sense, I've forgiven them. But I never noticed exactly when it occurred. The way you notice when you hit a home run and you celebrate with arms in the air. And forgiveness is an emotional and spiritual home run, for sure. I don't know, it's like I just felt the difference after the fact, as though forgiveness of that person came to me in my sleep. I just feel that there seems to be an element of this that is beyond the pay grade of my conscious brain. Years ago, leafing through a daily inspirations book by author Sark, I saw this image that we'll share as a slide, and it stuck with me. She's recommending we write ourselves a permission slip. Permission to forgive, that naming of the intention. And then she suggests we imagine ourselves standing in a shower of forgiveness. And it's that little image in the lower right-hand corner that captured what I had come to believe. That on some level, the forgiveness of another is a grace, so to speak, that we might receive like a shower of water upon us, as opposed to a task that we work on and accomplish methodically. You may be thinking of someone you've not forgiven. And you may be feeling like it's unimaginable to forgive what they did. I can't tell you otherwise. Terrible things happen between people. When I worked at a domestic violence shelter in Boston, I facilitated a weekly spirituality group at the kitchen table of the shelter, once children were tucked in beds. Women often brought to the table a concern, a question: what will it take for me to forgive the person who abused me? What will it take to move forward? Now, we were an emergency shelter, so the abuse was recent. And I was troubled by the pressure that some of these women felt to forgive. I often responded that I didn't feel forgiveness could be rushed. There's a song in the Hamilton musical that captures the slow pacing of meaningful forgiveness. In the course of their marriage, Alexander had wronged his wife, Eliza, in two deep ways. One involved infidelity, and one involved their son's untimely death. The song describes the passage of time in a new reality, placing the couple on a walk in the part of town they've moved to in the wake of their loss. The song imagines in time a subtle gesture, Eliza reaching out to take Alexander's hand and commenting simply on the quiet, a small sign of thaw.
Don't reach. There is suffering too terrible to name. You hold your child as tight as you can, then push away the unimaginable. The moments when you're in so deep, feels easier to just swim down. And so they move uptown and learn to live with the unimaginable. Hours in the garden, I walk alone to the store, and it's quiet uptown. I never liked the quiet before. I take the children to church on Sunday, a sign at the cross at the door, and I pray. That never used to happen before. You would like it uptown, it's quiet uptown. You knock me out, I fall apart. Look at where we are. Look at where we started. I know I don't deserve you, but hear me out, that would be enough. If I could spare his life, if I could trade his life for mine, we'd be standing here right now, and you would smile, and that would be enough. I don't pretend to know the challenges we're facing. I know there's no replacing what we've lost, and you need time, but I'm not afraid, and I know whom I married. Just let me stay here by your side, and that would be enough. Do you like it? his hand. It's quiet uptown. Forgiveness. Can you imagine? Forgiveness. Can you imagine? Look around. They are going through the unimaginable.
Thank you so much, Tanya. I'm moved by this song and your singing of it because of the respect for subtlety in a relationship. It's reverence for the unimaginable and the tiny steps over time that can reach across what feels like a vast expanse between you and someone else. In my own life, I've lived moments where I felt my stomach squirm at the thought of opening up to someone. And there have been times that I didn't open up, and times that I did. It's the choice between staying shut down to someone or not. And a couple of times when I did open up, I tasted that gorgeous relief. I tasted it. That runner's high. It is so much better than feeling right. So much better than feeling right or feeling angry. And let me say that one of the times I'm talking about was while saying goodbye to someone I've never seen since. In promoting forgiveness, I'm not promoting closeness necessarily. I'm promoting something on some other plane. Rumi pointed to its mystery. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. Now I can count on half of one hand the number of times I've experienced something like that field. I'm being honest. So I am no champion. I'm still learning. And I know you are too. Judaism's Talmud says, who is forgiven iniquity? And the answer says, one who passes by transgression against himself. Who's forgiven? The one who forgives. I'm wondering, could it be that this is not as quid pro quo as it sounds, but more about working to become someone who reveres the sacred ground between people that holds our atonement and our forgiveness both? Reverence for that field that Rumi points to. Becoming someone who tries to work the muscles of forgiveness and atonement, and also knows humbly that the outcome is beyond them. Knows it is a mysterious shifting that we wait and listen for. Fundamental to the Jewish holiday of Yom Kippur is the scapegoat story in the book of Leviticus in the Hebrew Bible. God says, Aaron shall lay both his hands on the head of a live goat and confess over it all the iniquities of the people of Israel and all their transgressions, all their sins, putting them on the head of a goat and sending it away into the wilderness. When I first heard this story as a younger person, I remember thinking, well, that sounds too easy. Aaron takes your wrongdoings and sends them away on a goat. Maybe some of it is out of our hands like that. God says that every year time will be set aside for this ritual, It will include fasting and, quote, complete rest to you, making space to reflect, perhaps readying yourself for a shift and then surrendering it. As they say, do your best and surrender the rest. To what or whom are we surrendering our wish to forgive or our wish to atone? Is it the realm of the divine? Is it some energetic space like Rumi points to? Do we surrender it to some formula of harm done and time past? Or to brain networks that unravel our righteous grip without our knowing? I don't mean to be flippant, but I don't think we'll ever know. And I'm not sure we need to. But in our attempts to atone, in our attempts to forgive, may we be honest and genuine. May we be compassionate to ourselves and to others. And may we, in time, experience a shift that takes us to that field where our soul lies down in the grass and the world is too full to talk about. May it be so. Amen.
Amen. Caitlin O'Brien, thank you so much for that. Thank you so much. And so we turn our attention and our care to the care of our beloved community, still in progress, still becoming. This is the time when we take up our offering virtually. We are so grateful for what you can give and share at this time. Let us speak together these words we say week by week and by heart. We give to the work of all souls. Our work weaves the fabric of love called community. To this end, we dedicate ourselves and this our offering. The offering will be gratefully received as it is generously offered. for all that you have given, for all that you have sacrificed and shared. We thank you. Thank you. Each week, we pause to bear witness to each other's lives. It is one of the commitments that we make to each other as a faith community. We pay attention to the joy and the sorrow that we have lived with and through. Now, there are two ways for you to share. You can plan ahead and share by email to belovedcommunity@allsouls.net. And whatever you email in will be shared, as you will witness shortly. Items that are emailed are read aloud, again, as you will see shortly. Or, right now, you can share by entering your joy or sorrow into the chat, where it will be witnessed and held by those assembled here in silence. As you write your joy and sorrow into the chat, Caitlin and I will be lighting candles of intention, and we will hold the silence for a minute so that you have time to type in as you are so moved. And so I welcome you into this communion of care and silence that will be followed in prayer and meditation. I will now share what was sent in via email this past week. We celebrate the wonderful news the Fortin family shares. Alexandria, Doug, and their daughter Elizabeth celebrate the safe arrival of their newborn family member, Jacqueline Ann, born last week. All are healthy and at home, and we celebrate with you. So exciting. Can't wait to meet her. Sadly, last week, Gretchen's brother and his wife suffered a serious home fire. The couple is living with Gretchen and her husband, David, for the time being. We send out our concern and love to the whole family as you move through this difficult time. Mary asks for our good thoughts and prayers for Nicole. Nicole suffered a miscarriage several months ago and is now pregnant again. So may this pregnancy be without complications, safe and healthy for mother and child. Arlene shares that sadly, the breast cancer has reoccurred. And this Thursday, she will have a mastectomy and be in the hospital overnight. Arlene, you were the sun around which this congregation was in orbit for many, many years. You are so important to all of us, and we hope and pray and meditate on your good health and moving through this surgery gently. I invite all into a communion of prayer and meditation. Spirit of life and of love, in all the ways that you are known and named, we are ordinary people living in extraordinary times. We call on the strength of our communion and the spirit that rises up in the heart when morning comes. May strength hold lamentation. Our lamentation for 203,000 of our neighbors lost to the pandemic. Our lamentation for the earth, our home, suffering so. Our lamentation that personal property was deemed of greater worth than a young Black woman's life. Our lamentation that democracy, the great imperfect experiment, lies in the balance of power that is now so out of balance. Our lamentation that when so much is out of balance, we cannot ease our sorrow by joining hands, freely embracing each other, singing to our heart's content, breaking bread at the ever-expanding table. Our lamentation for mental and physical illness, injury, job loss that has been shared out loud and witnessed in writing this morning. Spirit of life, hear our cries of lamentation and give us strength. And through the haze of worry, help us to find our way to the feast, to the celebration. We celebrate the baby just born and the baby that is to come. We celebrate the soul who made it to 10 days sober, just as we celebrate the soul who holds in their hand the coin that says 10 years in recovery. We celebrate the teachers that made it through another week, who did all that they could to comfort their students, just as they did all that they could to impart new ways of doing school. We celebrate the parents and grandparents who made it through another week, who did all they could to comfort their young loved ones, just as they did all that they could to encourage learning. Out loud and in writing and held in the sanctuary of our hearts, we celebrate the ordinary triumphs writ large. We celebrate and give thanks for this very day and all the beauty and learning it will bring. Through all the tumult and the strife, we lament, we celebrate, we give thanks, and may the ordinary people say, Amen. Amen. Our closing hymn should be for all of us, our mantra in these times. My life flows on in endless song. Sometimes it is known as, how can I keep from singing? How indeed can we keep from singing? And so we will join in Tanya's beautiful voice as we sing.
Creation.
Thank you, Tanya. So beautiful. As Reverend Carolyn extinguishes our chalice, please speak with me the words in our order of worship. Our service has ended, but our work is not yet done. May our spirits be renewed and our purpose resolved as we meet the challenges of the week. Our chalice flame is extinguished until once again ignited by the strength of our communion. I invite you to place one hand on your heart and a hand reaching out to the community that is with you in worship. Go forth into this week with the honesty and courage to do your personal work, and also with the humility to be in awe of that which is beyond you. You go with our love, you go with our encouragement, and may you return again with great joy. Let us say amen.
Amen, amen, amen. Always love. Thank you so much, Caitlin. So beautiful. Okay, what would worship be without announcements? And so here are a couple for you. The next community meal may feel like a long way off. It's not until the 5th Saturday of October, which is Halloween. But your help is needed. And the sooner you mark your calendar and let Carol Irwin know that you are ready to help, the quieter her heart and the better we are prepared to do what we have committed to do to help our neighbors. So if you'd like to help with that, and I hope that you would, please be in touch with Carol Irwin. Information will be in the e-blast for how to do that this week. And now we have a live recorded testimonial for the Sharing Circles. Henrietta, we're so glad that you did this. Henrietta.
Good morning, All Souls. I'm Henrietta Mounds, for those of you who have not met me. And I'm speaking to you this morning to encourage you to join a sharing circle as winter approaches in this time of physical distancing and uncertainty. Creating and maintaining connections with others is more important than ever. Join our virtual sharing circle, which meets every Tuesday from 7 to 8:30 p.m. beginning October 20th. You can participate via Zoom or the conventional phone. Together, we'll create a safe and confidential space in which we may share our thoughts and feelings without fear. We can be listened to and be supportive of each other. Our sharing circle will be a time and a space where you can take off your mask and be completely and authentically yourself. If you are interested in joining, please email Becky Noreen or myself. Thanks.
Thank you, Henrietta. It's always good to see you. And I hope you will be inspired and take up that encouragement to get involved with the sharing circles. It is, in these times, I'm not being hyperbolic, it is life-saving. So do that for yourself. Thank you for being here this week. We will see you next week in a different format. Next week, we will be joining Unitarian Universalist congregations throughout the country on a UU the Vote service. So you'll get information on how to log on. We're assuming it's going to be the same, but your e-blast will give you all the details. And again, we will feel the strength of our wider communion as we celebrate and worship with Unitarian Universalists throughout the country. We'll see you next week. Go in peace. And now a really fun postlude from Bill.